What do you want for a special occasion or any time to make you just feel really good and happy? A delicious brownie. And I know. I've had so many debates of people be like, there is nothing like a box mix brownie. That is not true. And I always want to get mad because I think you just haven't found the right recipe, haven't found the right thing to make. You can make delicious fudgy brownies at home, and the ones made at home have more flavor, are better, and are actually super simple. And I know I say that a lot, but that's my point. I want to bring these things to you and show you how simple they can be and fun, because it should be fun. If it's not, you're not going to want to do it. So to start, to make a fudgy brownie, to help that really dense, delicious texture inside, you want to melt your butter. And I'm going to melt it with, what else? Some chocolate. And I'm using, yes, a good, rich chocolate, because that's what you want. You know, the brownies are only going to be as good as the stuff you put into them, as with anything else, okay? So we're going to take our chocolate and we're just going to break it up into big pieces. There's no right or wrong here. It'll just help it break down faster if it's in, you know, somewhat broken up pieces. Not perfect, obviously, but whatever. I'm gonna pop this in the microwave, like every 30 seconds maybe. I am just going to heat it up and then just stir it intermittently, and then we'll go from there. I took this out, and you can see if there's a few pieces left, just let it sit a little bit, and that residual heat is just gonna melt them. You don't wanna cook it, because chocolate can burn. You want it to just melt, and it's beautiful and smooth. It's chocolate and butter. I mean, it's delicious. So now we can just like move on to our dry ingredients while that's just slightly cooling, because we don't want it to go into everything else and the eggs and everything when it's too hot. So it's just always best if you can slightly cool it. So for the dry ingredients, pretty simple. We have some flour. Now, unlike things like a cake and other things, since we want these to be a fudgy texture, you don't want too much flour. Kind of think of like a flourless chocolate cake, which obviously this has flour, but the less flour you have, the fudgier it gets. So we're gonna put in our flour, a little bit. Then we're gonna put in some regular granulated white sugar. And I think sometimes we're tempted to do a brown sugar because we think, oh, it's even gonna be more fudgy and caramely. Well, in this, it actually weighs it down and makes it too heavy. You need the white here to actually kind of balance out that texture. So then to just up that chocolate, we have a few things. And I think anytime you're using chocolate, anything you can do to bolster it, to boost it up and just elevate it a little bit, totally worth it. So we're gonna put in some cocoa. Cocoa, not a ton, but just enough that it does elevate it slightly, give it a little bit more flavor, give it a little bit more, kind of like that rich chocolatiness that you just, you crave. We're gonna put a little bit of salt. Anything sweet, balance it out with the salt. And then some espresso powder. So this is not normal. You probably don't use this in your everyday. Anytime almost I am baking with chocolate, I'm gonna use espresso powder. It's an instant espresso powder, but it completely brings up that chocolate flavor. Now, I know there's gonna be a few people. I don't like coffee. Yes, you can leave it out. It doesn't taste like coffee. These brownies are not coffee or even mocha flavored. It just gives an undertone that completely changes the complexity of the brownies. Worth it. So I'm just gonna stir those up slightly with a whisk, just to get the dry ingredients kind of all incorporated. Look how simple that is. You're getting that wonderful cocoa mixed in there. You just kind of want them all even, so that way when they go with the wet, we don't have to stir too much, because brownies can get kind of tough. The texture changes if you overmix them. So with here our beautiful chocolate mixture, we're gonna put in, of course, vanilla. Vanilla, again, chocolate, when you add vanilla, completely changes that flavor. It makes it so much more chocolatey. It really brings it out. It's kind of amazing. It doesn't just make it vanilla-y, it makes it just rich and delicious. We're gonna put in a couple eggs, because we don't want this to be a lofty, fluffy brownie. So we're not really putting in leaveners of like baking powder or anything. The eggs are the only thing that are really gonna give it that lift, which is what you want. So I'm just gonna break up those yolks. I'm gonna kind of just slowly work them in here. Not too much, but just enough so, again, we don't have to stir too much with the dry ingredients. So I'm gonna, right away, just put those all into this mixture. You want it all in there because that is all that chocolate. It is all the butter. So really it's the important food groups here. I'm even gonna scrape it out to make sure, because yes, that can even change your recipe, leaving a little bit behind. No. I'm gonna use it all. We're gonna put it in there, and now we're just gonna gently stir this together. I say gently, and then here I go. It's kind of like folding, especially when you're using a whisk, because it kind of just breaks up into those tines and goes through. So I'm just gonna slightly stir it. Look at that, and you instantly get, oh, so quickly. A few dry streaks with me is totally fine. To finish this off and give it, what do you love about a box mix brownie? You probably love that crackly top. Now, box mix brownies, I'm gonna admit, they have all those additives in them, all those stabilizers to every time give you the exact same look in a brownie. Well, at home we're not gonna do that. These are all natural. But we are gonna put in big chunks of chocolate, and I think that can help that crackly top. So I have 2 different kinds of chocolate. You can do whatever you like. The reason I'm not doing chips is because I don't necessarily want those uniform shapes here. I instead want big, delicious chunks of chocolate, and I want a lot of it. So I'm doing some milk chocolate because I think there's something about milk chocolate that, while sometimes it gets a bad rap for not maybe being complex enough, it has really good flavor. And I like that good flavor of the milk chocolate. And then I'm doing a semi-sweet just to kind of offset that, give it a little bit more of the complexity that we kind of crave. And what we're gonna do is just gonna cut these up. So I'm gonna go with my knife, we're gonna cut them up, we're gonna throw them in there. So as you can see, I am doing a very rough chop, just so I get those big shards and pieces. The smaller little shards, of course, are just gonna melt in, so it's no problem. And I'm gonna put those right here into my delicious brownie batter. Don't be tempted to eat it raw, or do, but you know, safety first here. So we're putting in all those little bits, and we're just gonna stir this up. Oh, you get that delicious, you can just tell instantly that these are what? They're gonna be fudgy, and they're gonna be full of chocolate. That's exactly what you want in a brownie. These are just the ultimate homemade brownie. Who doesn't love that? You know, and you know, there is, no matter when you're gonna have these, you know, Valentine's Day, whatever it is, you can make these a special treat just for 2 people because they are decadent, they are rich, delicious. They're good. So I have my baking pan here. I, just greased it well, and then I did put a parchment sling in it just so you can lift them out and cut them easier. If you want, brownies to cut really cleanly, nicely, even lines, it's easier to do it when they're out of there on a cutting board. But if you don't care, have at it. So I'm gonna put all this right in there. Oh, you can just, you can just tell they're gonna be good. This is actually a variation on the one my grandma kind of always made. And she, of course, had some vegetable shortening always in hers, and so they were a little bit loftier, had a different texture, of course good, but I just changed it slightly, added a few components, because, I think so many of us, we maybe don't bake as much as people used to, and so when we do, you want it to be extra good. You want it to be worth it. You want it to be, well, one, worth the calories too, but just, just extra special, because that's the whole point, and that's why we bake. So you can see now we have, look at that. Just, it's a pretty picture. Brownies just make you feel good. Maybe like you have memories of coming home from school and having them, or going to your grandma's, mixing them up. Oh, they're just good. So I'm gonna throw these in the oven. We're going to bake them. We're gonna pull them out and just let them cool slightly, because I can't cut them right away, and I wanna cut them and eat them. So I'm gonna bake them. Then we will enjoy some brownies. The brownies have baked and they have cooled. I couldn't cut them right away when they're not. They need to fully just cool down, kind of because, they'd be a little soft. They're a fudgy brownie. But look how beautiful they are. You kind of get that crackly top. This is why we put a sling on it. Look at that. That is what to me makes them just like, it just makes them perfect. So at this point, you can just cut them. I like to use a big knife just so I can make sure to get nice big slices. And then when you pull it out, if you want to make sure to have always clean slices, I like to just take a rag, wipe it off, because it's fudgy. You could even put them in the fridge actually for a while if you really wanted to be, completely kind of cleaner to cut. But I just kind of like that. Oh, guys, I wish you could smell this, and I always say that, and you can't, so it is what it is. But look at that. You get those ripples of chocolate. You get that crackly top, which is what you want. That's with all that chocolate just like tossed in there. And let me, you get the most intense, but well-rounded. So not sharp, but Kip heard me say how good it was. The flavor of these, which, no Kip, it's all chocolate, is so delicious and full and just sweet enough, not cloyingly sweet, which is what I love. When a dessert is too sweet, you don't really get the flavors. You don't get the rich chocolate. No, in this, you get all that flavor. You get all that chocolate. That espresso powder, no flavor at all in there. I'm not getting coffee. I'm not getting mocha. I'm just getting delicious chocolate. And that is what you want. Do not overbake these because that's gonna bake out a lot of that chocolate. As soon as you start smelling them, usually that means they're ready to come out of the oven. You wanna keep all that in there. You wanna maintain that fudginess, that texture. These are so good. They're the ultimate homemade brownie, which is what you want. You get, if you love the edges, don't worry, there's plenty of those crispy edges, soft centers. As always, what helps me the most is when you guys share these around. Tell your friends, tag your friends, share them to your stories, because not only does it help me, but it helps so many other people see how fun, how easy, and how simple it is to make things at home. And I honestly think that is the joy of it all, to make these things at home and have fun with it. Be the brownie maker you always wanted to be. I don't know if you wanted to be one, but who doesn't? Try it, enjoy it. As always, check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe, so many other recipes. You can do all these things, because if I can do it, I know you can do it. That means we can all do it. We can all make brownies, make the world a better place, at least a chocolatey place. Okay, I'm gonna keep eating, because I mean, hello, it's brownie time.